Okay, so can you please tell me about yourself?
Yeah, sure. So I have around 3.6 years of experience in software development. So primarily it is focused on Java, Spring Boot, microservices and SQL. I began my career at Verizon where I worked as a backend developer on Java based applications. Later I also contributed to projects in the retail domain and at Smart IO where I mostly gained the experience as a full stack developer. But mostly I worked in the backend part itself. So over the years, I also have worked on the designing and developing RESTful APIs using the Spring Boot and microservices architecture. I also have designed the databases and worked on the optimization with the SQL queries. So apart from that, I also worked on the implementing secure, scalable, and modular application by following the best practices and other design principles. And apart from that, I also have experience on Docker and cloud platforms like AWS and OpenShift for deployment and containerization. And I also have experience at collaborating with the cross-functional teams, participating in code reviews and ensuring high quality deliveries of the codes. So all those things we do on the day-to-day basis. So basically, my basic core strength is in backend development with Java and Spring Boot, and I am also having the experience in full stack developer, like in the front end side also a little bit, and SQLs also. So yeah, so this is what is about me and my experience.
Okay, so you have done the mentoring and team leading as well?
Yeah, so I have done that. So in one of my project, I acted as a team lead, and I was responsible for guiding the team of four, and I was conducting the code reviews and monitoring the new members and ensuring the like if they are following the best practices even when not officially leading. And apart from that, like mostly I help the juniors and mid-level developers to understand the concepts and review the code quality and ensure the maintainable practices uh, that is strictly being followed. So yeah, so these are the things we are doing. Yeah.
Okay, so can you tell me what do you keep in mind while doing the code review?
Yeah, while doing the code review, like mostly I see if the code is clean and it is kind of well structured. I also see whether the logic meets the business requirement and whatever the variables, class names, method names they have given, that is appropriate. And also I ensure that the team is following the solid principles and like proper naming conventions. And also like I try to identify if any unnecessary loops or queries or like heavy computation that could be optimized. So those things I see. I also, apart from that, like for the security purpose, I see if like validating that sensitive data is being handled properly and APIs are secured and no vulnerable objects are there. So yeah, so like these are the things mostly I check whether the developers has followed or not.
Okay, okay, good. Okay, now let's say a situation when you handle the situation where a junior developers disagree with your code review or the comments. So what do you do at that point of time?
Yeah, so I take it like a kind of collaborative discussion. So there might be the chances that other developers also may be correct. So for that, I think it is required to have the fruitful and positive discussion among us. And if someone disagrees, so I encourage them to explain their approach, and sometimes their idea may be valid or even better. So if my suggestion is necessary due to standards or performance security region. I explain it with example and tell them that why my approach is better. Otherwise, if there is approach is better, then we can go with their approach. So basically, this helps to maintain the mutual respect and encourages the open communication within the team. So this is how our managers also do, and this is how we are also doing, being as a lead. So yeah,
Okay. So you earlier you mentioned that you have the working experience with Docker, AWS, OpenShift, right? So apart from that, do you also have the front-end knowledge such as AngularJS, etc.?
yeah, I do have. So I have worked with AngularJS in the past, although it is quite some time back. While I primarily focused on the Java and React in recent years, so I have a solid understanding of the AngularJS concepts and could quickly refresh and adapt it, like if any requirement comes. Uh, so I can work on that. So there is no problem.
Okay, what Java version you have worked and used recently in your projects?
Yeah, I have mostly worked with Java 8, which is uh, most of the things we have used in that. And however, I also have started exploring the Java 17 in some of our other projects. So for Spring Boot projects, I mostly worked with version 2, so which runs with Java 8. Yeah, so mostly Java 8 itself I have worked on.
So can you use Java 8 with Spring Boot 3?
No, no. Spring Boot 3 requires like minimum Java 17 or higher versions like 11, 21 or yeah. We cannot use basically Java 8 with Spring Boot 3.
Okay, so can you tell me the some of the features of Java 17?
Yeah, like sealed classes are there. Then pattern matching for instance of. So basically that we are using for the boilerplate code to be reduced, and then text blocks, so that makes working with the multi-line string easier. And then switch expressor enhancement has also been done, and internally also, like so it has been improved garbage collection. So yeah, so these are the features I am able to recall right now.
Okay, can you tell me what are sealed classes?
Yeah, sealed classes in Java is a class basically that restricts with other classes or interfaces, and it can extend or implement it. So in this, we can declare it using the sealed keyword, and also we should must specify the permitted subclasses using the permit clause, and those subclasses must explicitly declare themselves as either final, sealed, or non-sealed. So this basically gives the more control over inheritance compared to the normal classes. So yeah, so that's what is a sealed class.
Okay. Can you explain why do we need sealed classes?
Yeah, so we need it because in traditional inheritance, like any class could extend a public class. So unless it is marked as final, so that is well known. So basically, here in this way, it is a problem because whenever suppose we are opening any class to be extended, so that could lead to uncontrolled extension, so that makes the code harder to maintain, and uh, it is difficult to maintain it basically. So with sealed classes we can limit the extension only to a known set of class like subclasses. So that is the main advantage, so not all the classes could be able to extend it. So that ensures the more predictable class in hierarchies and better design. So that's what uh, the I mean that is why we need the sealed classes.
Okay, so you also told the Java 17 feature with respect to instance of. So can you explain what is the change with that?
Yeah, so in Java 17, now we can use the pattern matching with instance of to reduce the boilerplate code. So before Java 8, we had like suppose if any object is there and we are saying instance of string, let's say. So again, suppose if we want to take the length of that object, then we have to cast explicitly cast that object to string, and then we can further get the length of that. Now in Java 17, we can just say like object instance of string s. Simply we can give the that s variable like that, and then we can just say like s dot length. So we don't have to explicitly cast it, so there is no need to do the any kind of manual casting. So it is kind of more cleaner, safer, and it avoids the redundant type casting. So yeah, so that is what is the pattern matching for instance of.
Okay, coming to Java 8, can you tell me the difference between find first and find any in streams?
Yeah, find first is that returns the first element in the stream, and find any that returns the any element from the stream. So, like in sequential streams, both may behave the same, but in parallel stream, find any is more optimized for the performance.
And what is the difference between map and flat map?
Yeah, map basically that transform each element into another object, like kind of one-to-one mapping. And flat map, it flattens the multiple stream into one-to-many. So, for example, let's say we have the like list of, and then we again inside that we have nested list of, and then we have one two, and then one more we have nested list of three four. So if we want to flatten this nested thing, so we can just like say dot flat map, and then we can just say for each, so it will flatten it and all will be like printed out together 1 2 3 4. But if we're using map, then it will be the nestedly it will be there, and uh, it won't be flattened, so it will be nestedly added. So yeah.
Okay, can you tell me what is stream and parallel stream?
Yeah, a stream that runs sequentially on a single thread, and a parallel stream runs in a parallel using the fork join pool. So the work gets split into multiple tasks, so which are processed concurrently. Yeah.
Okay. So is there any CPU role is there in that?
Yeah, the CPU core basically plays a big role in this. So in a stream, like only one CPU core is utilized, so that is single threaded. And in parallel stream, that work is divided across the multiple CPU cores. So it is kind of multi-threaded. So it is depending on the available cores in the current system. So for example, on a quad core CPU, a parallel stream can use up to 4 threads by default, like one per core, and basically this can lead to significant performance gains for larger data sets. So CPU intensive operations can also be done on the like faster in the quad core CPUs. So yeah.
Okay, so why can't we use parallel stream itself always? So why we are even using the normal stream?
No, we don't always use parallel stream because it is not guaranteed to be faster. So it introduces thread splitting and merging overhead. So for a small data sets, it can actually be slower than the normal stream. So it's best suited for the CPU intensive task or large datasets where the multiple cores can be efficiently utilized. So for IO bound operations, a task that require maintaining the strict order, or cases involving shared mutable state. So parallel stream can lead to like inefficiency or even concurrency issue. So that's why I generally prefer like sequential stream by default, and use parallel stream only when the workload and the environment clearly justify that a parallel stream will be the faster in those scenarios. So only then we can go for the parallel stream.
Okay, can you tell me what is method overriding in Java?
Yeah, method overriding occurs when a subclass provides its own implementation of a method that is already defined in its parent class. So the method signature must remain the same. So basically the name and parameters should be same, but the implementation can be differ. So this basically allows the runtime polymorphism. For example, if a parent class has a display method and the child class can override it to provide its own version of the display. So interfaces also use this concept when the classes provide the custom implementation for declared methods. So yeah, so this is what is the method overriding.
And what about the encapsulation? Can you explain?
Yeah, encapsulation is the process of binding variables and methods like data and behavior basically into a single unit, and it ensures controlled access to data by using access modifiers like private, public, and protected and all, and also the getter setter methods. So for example, if an employee class attributes like name and salary can be private, while methods like get salary provide the controlled access, so that can be the kind of a public. So we will have the getters and setters. So in runtime, when we create an object using the new keyword, so all variables and methods of the class get encapsulated within the object instance. So static variables or methods are encapsulated at the class level in the memory. So yeah, so that is what is the encapsulation in Java.
Okay, so can we achieve encapsulation without getters and setters?
Yeah, uh, technically yes. So simply by making the variables private, we are encapsulating them basically. But without getters and setters, external classes becomes like kind of impossible, which may not be uh, practical. So in real world applications, encapsulation typically involves controller like controlled exposure through the methods. So the getters and setters are required. But yeah, if we just for if it is possible or not, this concept can be added or not. Without that, so yes, that can be added.
Okay, so can you also explain me how does encapsulation improve security and maintainability?
Yeah, it improves security because it prevents any external classes from putting objects in invalid state. So for example, let's say we have a bank account class, and we can ensure the balance never goes to negative by validating the withdraw method. So rather than allowing direct field access, so we are providing getters and setters, and there we might write the logic like it never gets to negative. So that is how we are securing it. And if requirement change later, so we can update the logic inside the class without breaking the client code. So that is how we can do it. And getters and setters, that is how it also helps to improve the security and maintainability.
Okay, can you tell me what is abstraction in Java?
Yeah, abstraction is the concept of hiding the implementation detail and exposing only the essential features to the user. So in Java, abstraction is achieved through the abstract classes and interfaces. So interface is kind of, we can say, like uh, achieving the 100% abstraction, and abstract classes we can use for the partial abstraction. So for example, when we use any, let's say, list interface, okay, so then we don't care about whether it is implemented as array list or linked list or whatever. So we just use the methods whatever has been exposed. So that basically allows the flexibility, reusability, and easier maintenance. So abstraction is essentially the opposite of encapsulation, we can say. So that encapsulation binds the data and behavior. Abstraction hides the complexity and shows the only what is necessary. So yeah.
Okay, can you tell me if the abstraction can be achieved using abstract classes and interfaces only? Or can we achieve it without abstract classes or interfaces?
Yeah, with some extent, we can achieve abstraction without using abstract classes or interfaces. So even concrete methods can hide implementation details by exposing only a high-level APIs. So for example, the collection.sort when we say, so in this the method hides the internal sorting algorithm, right? So the user doesn't need to know whether it used quick sort or must sort or whatever the algorithm is there. So user don't know it and then don't need to know it. But in Java's strict object oriented principle sense, abstract classes and interfaces are the primary tools. Yeah.
Okay, so what are the design patterns you are aware of?
Yeah, I am aware of a singleton factory, abstract factory, then builder, then adapter, and then proxy. So yeah, so these are the design patterns I am aware of.
Okay, can you explain the abstract factory design pattern?
Yeah, abstract factory is a creational design pattern, so that provides an interface for creating families of related objects without specifying their concrete classes. So for example, let's suppose we have a class A, B, and C. So instead of instantiating them directly, we define an object abstract factory interface with methods like get A, get B, and get C. So a factory class then implements these methods and provides instance of the A, B, or C. So that is how we can achieve it. So this approach basically helps in creating objects in a consistent way and makes the system more flexible and scalable when adding new products families. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so in Spring Boot, how would you create a project from scratch?
Yeah, so there are multiple ways to create a Spring Boot project from scratch. So the most common way is to using Spring Initializer. So we have one URL like spring.io. So there we can select the Spring Boot version, Java version, and dependencies uh, like whatever Spring Web, JPA, Lombok, security, and all we can just select, and it will generate a ready to use project with pom.xml or build.gradle what based on whatever we selected, either Maven or Ant or whatever we selected. And then apart from that, we can also use the Spring Boot CLI to bootstrap projects via command line or IDE integration like IntelliJ, Eclipse, or STS. So that internally uses initializer. For advanced setups, we can use manually create a Maven Gradle project and add the Spring Boot starter dependencies. So in practice, I usually prefer Spring initializer or IDE integration, since they ensure that compatibility and it's also save the time. So yeah, so that is how we can generate and we can do it. Yeah.
Okay, can you tell me what is the role of Spring Boot starter dependencies? And can you name a few common used ones?
Yeah, in Spring Boot, starter dependencies are basically pre-packaged set of commonly used libraries that bundle together. So instead of figuring out and adding individual dependencies manually, we can just add one starter and get everything we need. For example, Spring Boot Starter Web pulls the Spring MVC Jackson for JSON and an embedded Tomcat server to quickly build the RESTful APIs. And also Spring Boot starter data JPA we have, so that includes the Hibernate and Spring data for database access. And Spring Boot starter security brings in Spring security for authentication and authorization, and Spring Boot starter test includes JUnit, Mockito, and other testing libraries. So this approach reduces the version conflicts and it makes the project setup much faster and much cleaner. So yeah.
Okay, can you tell me the difference between add component and at the rate of bean annotation in Spring?
Yeah, so add component is used at the class level to mark a class as a Spring managed component. So Spring automatically detects it during the component scanning. For example, uh, whenever we are making the class, any class, so on top of that we can just make add the rate of component. Now coming to add the rate of bean, so it is used at the method level inside the configuration class. Add configuration annotation we use for that to explicitly declare and return a bean example. So yeah, so we can use add rate of bean annotation for that. So the main difference we can say that the scope of add component is class level while add the rate of bean is at the method level. So yeah.
Okay, so can you tell me what is the role of add configuration when using add rate of bean?
Yeah, in Spring, add configuration is used to indicate that a class contains one or more bean methods and should be processed by the Spring container to generate and manage those beans. So when we put add the to bean method inside a class annotated with add configuration, so Spring uses some proxies to ensure that each bean method returns the same singleton instance rather than the creating a new object every time the method is called. So without add configuration, the method may behave like regular Java methods and return new instances. So that breaks the singleton behavior. So add configuration is essentially for the proper bean lifecycle and dependency management in the Spring. So that's what is the role of add configuration when using the bean.
Okay, so what are Spring Boot profiles?
Yeah, profiles in Spring Boot let us define different configurations for different environments like dev, test, or production. So, for example, we might have a dev database locally and a different one in production. So, by activating a profile with uh, like we can say spring.profiles.active equal to we can just mention like dev, and Spring Boot will load the matching configuration files or beans. So that is how we can use the profiles.
And how does Spring Boot handles the embedded server?
Yeah, Spring Boot includes embedded server like Tomcat or other like JT and all. So that means that we don't need to deploy var to an external container. So we don't have to separately include this Tomcat server and all. So instead, your application runs at a standalone jar with an embedded server like making it easier to run and deploy. So yeah, so that is how Spring Boot handles the embedded server.
Okay, can you tell me what are microservices and how are they different from monolithic applications?
Yeah, microservices are an architectural style where an application is broken down into a small independent services that focuses on a single business function and communicates via APIs, usually through the REST or uh, messaging. So, unlike monolithic applications where all modules are tightly coupled and deployed together, microservices can be developed, deployed, and scaled independently. So that's make it more flexible and resilient. So yeah, so that is why we are using the microservices mostly right now.
Okay, so are we using microservices mostly? So should we always use microservices?
No, not always. Like it depends mostly on the business needs and team size and system complexity. So many modern enterprises application, especially in a like finance or e-commerce, we do use microservices because they allow a scaling individual services independently and enable them to work in parallel. However, not all applications need microservices. For smaller applications or internal tools, a monolithic architecture built with Spring Boot, I mean, is mostly simpler, and it is also cheaper and faster to build and maintain. So yeah, so if it is very high volume and high um, uh, like complex application is there, so which needs to be splitted, so we can split and make it to microservices. But if it is small and easier to maintain and not many modules are there, then we can go with the monolithic also. Yeah.
Okay, can you tell me how do microservices communicate with each other?
Yeah, microservice communicate with primarily using the synchronous protocols like REST or gRCP, and also asynchronous protocols like messaging queues or like Kafka, RabbitMQ and all. So basically this depends on the use case. So synchronous is good for request response flows, while asynchronous is better for kind of event driven or decoupled systems. Like we just want to send the request and we forget it, we until the like kind of producer just produces and consumer can consume whenever like it is convenient to consume. So yeah, so that is how the communication happens between the microservices.
And what is discovery service in microservices?
Yeah, service discovery allows like microservices to dynamically find and communicate with each other without hard coding addresses. So tools like Netflix, Eureka, and Console, or like Kubernetes service discovery, like that keep track of available services and their location. So services can scale up or down without breaking the communication. So that is what is the service discovery. Yeah.
So how do you handle distributed transactions in microservices?
Yeah, since microservices often have their own databases, so distributed transactions are handled using the patterns like Saga or like two-phase commit. So Saga is more common where a sequence of a local transactions across services is coordinated using events or a central orchestrator, and compensating actions are triggered if any step fails. So yeah, so that is how we handle it. Yeah.
And how do you handle security in microservices?
Yeah, security in microservices usually follows the API gateway pattern where authentication and authorization are centralized. So each service trusts the token issued by a common identity provider like Keycloak and all. So that ensures the secure, stateless, and communication across the services. So yeah.
Okay, can you explain what is the role of API gateways in microservices?
Yeah, API gateway is the single entry point for all the client requests. So the it is kind of client does not need to know about the individual microservices URLs or ports. So they have to just hit the API gateway, and API gateway takes care of the request from there onwards. So it reduces the like coupling between the clients and services. And API gateway also like it routes the client request to the appropriate microservices, and it can perform the intelligent routing like uh, maybe path based routing and all. So for example, if we have orders and then like forward slash star star means like it will go to the all the order services, and if it is payments then like forward slash star star, so it will go to payment service. So like that, it smartly identifies it, and it often includes the load balancing to distribute request across the multiple service instances. And also the authentication and authorization happens here. So apart from that, if any kind of SSL termination or threat protection is there, so that also can be done here, and rate limiting also can be done here. And also like it stores the frequent request responses, so it caches all those request responses, and it reduces the load on backend services, and it improves the client performance. So all this it does through the caching. And apart from that, monitoring and logging also can be done here. So it captures the metrics like the request count, latency, error rates, and all. So those things also can be done here. And also like service discovery integration also can be done here. Like it works with a service registry like Eureka, Kubernetes service and all, to discover available microservices in instances dynamically. So clients don't need to hard code the service endpoint. So it API gateway takes care of all these things. So yeah, these are the various tasks of API gateways. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, can you tell me what is NoSQL? Have you worked on it?
Yeah, NoSQL stands for not only SQL, and it refers to the databases that store the data in non-tabular format. Like it stores in the key value and document uh, format kind of. So that is what is the NoSQL. So I have used like MongoDB mostly. So yeah.
So, in which scenario you use NoSQL? Can you tell me?
Yeah, so NoSQLs are mostly ideal for the handling large volumes or unstructured or semi-structured data. So it offers the horizontal scalability and faster development cycle. So for example, if we have the, let's say, e-commerce website, and there we have different types of products, like we have television, we have maybe the fruits also can be there, and maybe clothes also can be there. So there will be different properties of each of the objects. So we don't have the common property name, right? So like in this case we need the horizontally scalable like data. So we can store the different properties of each objects in NoSQL. So but this cannot be done, or this is kind of very much tricky and complex to do in case of the SQLs like MySQL or Oracle and all. So yeah.
Okay, okay.